we're talking about what's happening in the 731 on the Hub City Now with your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr.
Hello and welcome to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr.
And today we have with us Daryl Chantsuthus.
Perfect.
Who is the executive director with the Women's Resource and Rape Assistance Program.
And it's actually, Tony, I'm glad to be here, and it's actually the Women and Men's Resource and Rape Assistance Program. And for so long it was known as the Women's, but we actually have a slash there between the W and the M.
Okay.
Because we do serve both, and we serve children as well.
All right. And since you've already started telling us who you serve, how many countries do you serve here in West Tennessee?
We serve...
Counties. I'm sorry, countries.
No,
counties.
I knew what you meant. We are currently serving 14 counties in West Tennessee.
Okay.
We are adding some additional counties. Okay. We hope we'll get the funding to support advocates in those counties in October. Mm-hmm. And that will bring us up to 19.
Okay. I think I heard today that Brownsville maybe get it.
Brownsville is already one of our counties.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And has been Haywood County. Mm-hmm. Brownsville is the city there. So Haywood County has been one of our counties for quite some time now.
Okay. And before we go any further, since this is an October show, we wanted to make sure everyone knew that this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Is that correct?
That's right. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. And as part of that month, we have a number of activities throughout West Tennessee. Here in Jackson, Madison County, on October 4th, we're going to have a candlelight vigil. Okay. And the purpose of the vigil is to remember those we've lost, mm-hmm. to honor those who have survived, and to show our support for those who are still struggling in difficult relationships. Okay. The vigil's on the 4th. It's going to be at the Safe Hope Center at 512 Roland Avenue here in Jackson, and it's going to start at 4:30.
Okay.
It will be followed at 5 with a Night Out Against Crime party.
That's great.
So we hope people will come, join us for the vigil, and have fun at the party. There'll be food and just activities and lots of fun things to do. And then also for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, it'll be here in Jackson, but the purpose is to provide funding for all of the counties that we serve. We're going to have on October the 29th a rap zombie run, a zombie 5K. We don't want the runners to dress up as zombies. Okay. We want you to come as runners, but you will be pursued by zombies. And the goal is to maintain your lives. You'll be given 2 lives, and you want to make sure you keep those lives by the time you finish the race, or you too will be a zombie.
Well, that's a popular thing now with The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, so that's going to be on October the 29th at the ballpark at Jackson.
Okay.
And it will start at registration is at 3:30.
Okay.
It'll start promptly at 4, and then right afterwards, there's a trunk or treat for children.
Okay.
So at the ballpark starting at 5. That's right. Yes.
Okay. And I read something. Well, I read a quote from your profile on Wrapped today that said it best described why you do this job, and it says, "This is the true joy in life, the being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one." And then it concludes, "I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can." And that's from George Bernard Shaw's A Splendid Torch. Why did you do this job? Why do you do this job?
Because there are a number of different reasons. Personally, I am a victim of both.
Survivor.
That's right. Well, yeah, I am a survivor.
Right.
I'm a thriver.
Right.
Okay.
You're a thriver. There you go.
I am a thriver. as a child of 6, I was sexually molested by a neighbor. I was a latchkey kid, so I was home alone, waiting for my parents and with my sister, who was younger than me. And we would play outside while we waited for our parents, even though we had been told not to. But
Right.
your children,
Right.
And our neighbor, who was a very nice fellow, invited us over for candy, and we trusted him, and we were molested. I told, and I mean, even he was very nice. It was,
Right.
it was just, I didn't understand what it was. I had a sense that it was not a good thing. And so I did tell my father. I don't know what happened to the man, but I never saw him again after that. So I hope he left and that was all that happened.
Right.
But then in my home life, I also experienced violence in the home. Not my father against my mother, but more my mother against my father. My father was the quiet type, and he avoided conflict. And my mother was very loud and would scream and would throw things when she was angry.
Right.
And neighbors would come to get us because it would be so loud. I'm on up there. So I was when I was a kid. Windows were still opened in the summer, so people would hear.
Right.
So I know what it's like to grow up in an environment where people are the adults in your world are in conflict,
Right.
in loud conflict, and it's awful. It's just awful when you're a kid because there's nothing you can do. You
Right.
feel helpless, and to some degree you feel responsible. So that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Why I'm in this work.
Mm-hmm.
But whether it's this work or, before I came to RAP, I was with the Department of Children's Services, again, for obvious reasons.
Right.
But I feel very strongly that we are all connected,
Right.
and that what happens to one of us
Happens to all of us.
happens to all of us.
Right.
And we each have a responsibility to do what small part we can. You don't have to work for a nonprofit.
Right.
You don't have to do this work to make a difference. In what you do in your own home, remembering that when you yell at each other, if your children are there, they hear you.
Right.
It is impacting them, and it's impacting them in a negative way. Don't do it.
Right.
When you yell at them, it's impacting them and impacting them in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
To reduce the use of violent language, violent actions in your home, in your own home, is huge. If we all just did that,
Right.
there would be less violence in our community, less violence in our world.
So what you're saying, does it kind of get passed on? Is that kind of violence a learned behavior?
It
sometimes?
is. It's absolutely a learned behavior. Again, we are shaped by our environment.
Right.
And the way we respond to different situations
It's because of what we've
is
seen.
what we
somebody
learned.
else-
It's how if we see that the way our parents handle trouble, conflict, is by yelling at each other or
Right.
hitting each other,
Right.
or yelling or hitting us if we're
Right.
the kids,
Right.
then that's what we're learning is how you handle conflict.
Mm-hmm.
You yell at people, you hit people, you bully people.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you handle it.
Right.
And I don't think anyone believes that that's how we should handle conflict.
Right.
I don't. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I don't care what they say. I mean, there is a way of being in the world right now
Mm-hmm.
that says, I don't have to take anything off anybody.
Right.
And if somebody does this to me, I'm going to do that right back to them.
Right.
And I get that. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I haven't felt that way myself sometimes.
Right.
My point is that's not going to get you anywhere but more of the same.
Right. It just
We
Make
create.
more violence.
That's right. We create our world.
Right.
It doesn't mean that other people around us are not going to be violent. They will, because that's what they learn too.
Right.
We are shaped by our environments, but it means as an individual, I can take responsibility for what I do and for
Right.
how I think and for how I respond in that situation. And I can choose to be like this person that I don't like because of the way they're coming at me.
Right.
Or I can choose to be different.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes.
As a former NFL football player, I never thought I would let this happen to me. I knew I had to do something. Thanks to VIP's weight loss and testosterone programs, I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel better, I look better, and live a healthier life. Hello, welcome back to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. And we're back again with the Executive Director of Rap, Daryl Chantsuthus.
Chansuthus.
That's it. That's right.
Before we go on, I'd like to give the audience a few of some statistics from some pamphlets from Rap. One of the a very interesting one, because a lot of times when you talk about sexual violence, more times than not in the news or in the newspaper, it's about women. But men are also victims of sexual violence.
That's right.
A national study found that 1 in 71 adult men reported being raped. In addition, 1 in 6 boys will experience child sexual abuse before the age of 18. And that same study found that 6% of men have experienced sexual coercion and 11% reported unwanted sexual contact at some point in their lives. Does that kind of crime seem to be underreported among men?
It absolutely is underreported. Both the crimes of domestic violence and sexual assault are underreported among men. Mm-hmm. And that's because of our society.
Right. It's not you're not a man if
that's right.
If that happens to you.
Oh my gosh, heaven forbid that you should. I mean, if a man comes forward and says, my wife hit me.
Right.
The male response is, why didn't you hit her back?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it's that culture of sort of, you got to be the alpha male, you got to be the strong person, right. And that anyone who refrains from violence and who's tried to work with their partner, mm-hmm. and the partner is consistently violent, mm-hmm. and is threatening them, and this happens, stalking them, threatening them. If they ask for help, they are ridiculed.
Right.
And that is not okay. If they call us, they don't have to report it to anyone if they don't want to. They can call us. It is completely confidential. No one knows. Okay. But sometimes it's good to be able to tell someone about it and be believed,
right,
and to get support and help.
Right. And speaking of services, some of the services, and this is not just services for adult survivors. This is also for children, too. Is
That's
that correct?
Right.
24-hour crisis line, a safe shelter, which includes food, clothing, toiletries, etc., transportation, individual counseling, support groups, hospital accompaniment, court accompaniment, case management, education prevention programs, emergency financial assistance, advocacy, referrals, and transitional housing.
That's right.
Tell me about how some people react to these services. How does it help them?
Let's say, and I'm gonna say a woman, because 96% of the people we serve in West Tennessee are women.
Okay.
And many with children.
Okay.
So let's say a woman calls us and needs help.
Mm-hmm.
If she utilizes, the vast majority of our services, what we do first is to find out what she needs. We don't tell people, okay, we can do this, that, and that for you.
Right.
But rather we want to know what it is they feel that they need our help with. Mm-hmm. Because we believe in self-determination. You are driving your bus. That's right. You are driving your bus. We're not driving it. We won't even get on the bus unless you tell us it's okay.
Right.
So we ask them, how they feel we can help them.
Mm.
And I'm going to give you an example of Audrey, who fictional name.
Okay.
But Audrey was being severely abused by her husband, and she had 2 children, and they needed shelter. They needed legal services to file for an order of protection and divorce. The house was not in her name, so until the divorce could be complete and they could ascertain what could be done with the assets, she needed a place to stay beyond our shelter, because our shelter is an emergency shelter, and once she's safe, then it is time for us to help her transition to more stable permanent housing. So we do that. So we bring her into shelter. We take her to refer her to legal services.
Okay.
West Tennessee Legal Services is a strong partner of ours throughout West Tennessee.
They're really good.
And they will look to see what kind of legal support she may need. Then we look to see if she needs help with housing, and if she does, we help her locate housing. We can help with utility deposits. We help pay the rent. In Audrey's case, because she had 2 children, she had changed locations, so she needed to find a new job, so she needed some time to be able to get on her feet. So we paid her rent for, I'm trying to remember, I want to say it was 4 or 5 months, so that she could get employed and having a paycheck coming in.
And be able to take care of her family.
We provided ongoing counseling, so she got counseling. Her children they were old enough and wanted it, so they were able to get counseling around the domestic violence,
because they were
trauma.
witnesses. They were witnesses.
That's right, the trauma of the violence, and we were able to help her to talk with her about things that she should expect as a parent when your children have witnessed domestic violence.
Right.
There are certain behaviors that you can expect from your children, and as a parent, what should you expect, and what do you do about it?
Right.
So we were able to work with her around that. She also wanted to go back to school, so we were able to get her connected to a domestic violence scholarship.
Okay.
She was able to go back to school. She got her certified nurse assistance training certificate. She went on from that to get an LPN.
Okay.
And the last I heard from her advocate, she was working on her RN, doing very well, was engaged. Her children had a good relationship with their future stepfather.
Okay.
Things were going very well. So for those who go through the program fully, they tend not to go back into violent relationships. The outcomes for them are very good, very positive. Are
there ever times where they don't stick with the program?
A lot of times. There are many people who think, I just want an order of protection, and that's all I want.
Right.
And so they get an order of protection, and in some cases, that really is all they need. They got it, they understand, they didn't realize it going into the relationship that he was this way. Once they get the order of protection, they've got support systems, and they move on.
Right.
But those tend to be the exceptions and not the rule.
Right.
What we see are people who get back into because they don't know what they don't know. So if you don't know what the flags are that can cause you to fall into that situation, then you're going to find yourself in that situation again.
Right.
And orders of protection can only do so much.
That's what I was going to say. It's a piece of paper.
And if it's a truly violent relationship, that's right.
Yeah.
We have people who die in the process of getting one or after already having one. So, if they're truly serious about killing you, then, just getting that piece of paper is not enough.
Right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk more about RAP, and we're going to tell you how you can help RAP and how you can get help from RAP. We'll be right back.
As a former NFL football player, I never thought I would let this happen to me. I knew I had to do something. Thanks to VIP's weight loss and testosterone programs, I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel better, I look better, and live a healthier life.
Hello and welcome back to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr., and we're here again with Daryl Chantsuthus, with the who's executive director of WRAP, which is the Women and Men Resource and Rape Assistance Program here in West Tennessee. I'm going to give you another statistic since we've talked about domestic violence and sexual violence. Child sexual abuse. The majority, this pamphlet I'm reading from again, the majority of sexual victimization starts early in life. Approximately 80% of female victims experience their first rape before the age of 25, and almost half experience the first rape before age 18. 30% between 11 to 17 years old, and 12% at or before the age of 10. The stats also say that about 35% of women who were raped as minors were also raped as adults, compared to 14% of women without any early rape history. And 28% of male victims of rape were first raped when they were 10 years old or younger. My question to you is, since we're going into how people can help prevent these things or how people can help, what signs or things can parents, if the parent's not the victimizer, what can parents or family members, what kind of signs can they look for?
There are a number of signs, and the Carl Perkins Exchange Center for Child Abuse has a list of warning signs on their website, but some of them, I mean, there are many. Right. But an example of some of them would be, for example, a child who was previously, very active, talkative, who all of a sudden becomes sullen and withdrawn. Right. Children who start wetting the bed, who really didn't do that before. Right. Children who start who display sexualized behavior when they didn't. So, for example, they do things or talk about things that they didn't before.
Right.
So those are just a few of the signs that parents should, I think, always be mindful of their children's behavior, and when they notice that something is distinctively different, to be alert around that. And it's also important. I mean, one of the concerns that we have is that in West Tennessee, we have, in Tennessee, it's not just West Tennessee. In Tennessee, we have the what's called the gateway laws, where that if you talk about anything about sex to children, they're going to go off and have sex, and so therefore you don't talk about it at all. Sort of the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil law is how I think of it. And, I hope I don't get in trouble for talking about this, but I think that I understand parents' concerns. Right. As a parent of 5 myself, I hear them. You want to protect them. I want to be the one who talks to my children about sex and about what they can do to protect themselves. Right. But a whole lot of parents don't. Right. And we have, since we've had this law, teen pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases have gone up in Tennessee exponentially. So not talking about it hasn't worked, folks.
Right, exactly.
So I think talking about it, having honest conversations with your kids, letting your kids know that they can trust you, because if you never talk about it,
somebody else will.
That's right. Well, and they won't come to you because they won't. It hasn't been a safe. You haven't made it a safe conversation for them to have with you, without being judged or blamed. Right. It's the same in our communities about domestic violence and sexual violence generally. People don't talk about it because they don't feel safe to. They feel that if they talk about it, people will judge them, people will blame them, they will feel shamed, they will feel defined by it in their community. And that's just not okay. We have to change the way we think about this. We have to make our homes and our communities safe places for people to talk about what's happening to them,
Right.
so that they can get help. We can be supportive of them in addressing these problems that they're experiencing.
Right. And how can people get help? We want to give that information out. RAP, to learn more about RAP, you can go to raptn.org. That's all, raptn.org. You can also call the crisis line at 1-800-273-8712. You're also telling me about the advocates.
Right. Each of our advocates has a direct line.
Mm-hmm.
So when you call our hotline, if you need to talk to an advocate, if you'd like to come and see an advocate in one of our counties, then the advocate who answers the hotline can provide you with that direct number, so that during regular business hours, you're able to contact that advocate and arrange to see them and talk to them about what issues you're having, and they can work with you to get those resolved.
Okay. And how can people help RAP? Those who aren't survivors, what can they do to help RAP? What does RAP need?
They can participate in activities like our 5K and our vigil.
Okay. And can you give us those dates again?
Yes, the vigil's going to be October the 4th at the Safe Hope Center at 4:30. And the Safe Hope Center is at 512 Roland Avenue, Jackson. They can also participate in October in our Zombie 5K, which is going to be, registration will be at 3:30 at the ballpark at Jackson. And the race will start at 4. If you register before, I want to say it's October 15th, you'll get a free T-shirt. You can register online at Races Online. You can go to our website and get the registration information there as well.
Okay.
But we take volunteers. You can go to our website and fill out a form to volunteer at RAP. We use volunteers to do office work, to do social media work, to do program work. So if you want to work with survivors, and you're willing to commit, 10 to 15 hours a week, we absolutely can use you. Right. We also take donations of clothing and personal items and household items. And, of course, we always take donations of funds. Right. So it takes a lot to provide support. We provided services to more than 2,000 last year. Wow. And that number's already gone up this year. So and we expect it to go up significantly once we're fully staffed to serve the additional counties. Right. So any help that you can provide is most welcome.
And RAP, I like to end with RAP's mission. RAP's mission is to embrace and empower adult and children survivors of domestic and or sexual violence, so that the quality of life of those we serve and the communities in which they live is sustainably enhanced. So please check out RAP at raptn.org. We thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
We also like to thank our sponsors, Baskerville Funeral Home, the City of Brownsville, R&R Custom Wheel and Tires, and Styles Menswear. This has been Hub City Now. Thank you for tuning in, and please check out RAP, and remember to look out after one another, to solve your problems the right way, and to help one another. We'll see you next time.